Hey, lovelies. So we will get started in just, I would say, like another minute, like a little grace period. All right. All right, let's do it. Got a lot to talk about. So welcome, everyone. I am really delighted about the timing of this because we typically schedule the Vital Mind Reset live experiences around like major holidays so we can like set you up not to totally fall off the wagon for Thanksgiving and make sure that we round you out by the end of the year so that you start your next year on a radically new foot. However, I think right now there is even more change that's like ripe for claiming. And I like to think of myself as a change agent, change maven, maybe. And I am very, very interested in the anatomy of transformation and what it takes to up level and upgrade and break out of patterns that you're just done with. You're just done with. And you feel like squeezed between the past that you don't want to keep repeating, and you have no idea how to create the future, which seems like it could involve a lot of loss and pain and maybe even worse things, right? So how do you navigate this liminal space? I don't know about you, but recently I've been like deep in the dense, like secular realm of like money and, like business and real estate and then like relationships. And I've been a lot struggling myself with focusing on what isn't here, like what I want that's not here yet. And this is a moment where we get to plug into an energy, like a current that's going to take you where it is that you want to go. And you don't need to know how it's going to happen. You just need to focus on the wanting of something new. And I feel that this is this moment is a very auspicious one for that to happen. So I'm really, really, really excited and delighted about the timing of this conversation and also of our doors open for and launch day for Vital Mind Reset, which is Tuesday, the 4th. For those of you who are here, I decided this morning that I wanted to gift you all $100 towards your membership in Vital Mind Reset. Since you're here, And because that means that you're ready and you just need a little, you need like a little something to push you through some of the resistance, because there's so many of us who feel like we've tried everything, we've done all the things and nothing has worked. And, I like to say, if you feel like you've tried everything, you haven't tried this. This is a very unique space, and I hope you get a flavor for it during this discussion. So I wanted to start out today by sharing, what I have analyzed over the course of my clinical practice in my own life, and then watching, hundreds of people go through this transformational portal, because it's really archetypal, like it's human. We think we're so unique. And then we start to move into and through change, and we recognize it has stages, it has elements, and chiefly there is a pattern disruptor that is essential to open you up to that which you want, and to let that flow in. And this program, this protocol, I think, is the most powerful one out there for truly disrupting your patterns and allowing you to shed the struggle. So I wanted to share what I've observed are the 3 reasons that we stay kind of circling the drain, the 3 reasons that we stay stuck. The first one is that we don't know what's possible. So many of you know that my mentor, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, passed very suddenly in 2015. I was at the peak of my righteous bitch activist phase then, fighting what I didn't want, right? So there's avoiding and fighting what you don't want, and then there is moving into the pleasure of what it is that you do. And that takes time. It takes time to really expand into that possibility. The beginning of that process and phase for me was the alchemical grief portal of his death, and my recognition that I don't want to feel that way anymore. I don't want to feel all the pain and struggle, go to bed crying about the world, and that I brought children into it and all that. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to experience what is possible. And I would say, even when we opened Vital Mind Reset during the past, I would even say 2 years, a lot of the energy of do this for yourself, join us, is so that you could emancipate from the medical system and not have to have anything to do with it anymore. So you can be truly sovereign. And now I just feel something a little different happening, where join us because you want to live your more audacious life. You want to live a life that feels more fun, feels more free, feels more pleasurable. And that's what happened to me in that time window, where I shifted and I said, you know what feels better to me? Celebrating what is possible. And of course, that turned into things like the Thank You Body Rally. But when you know that something is possible, when you know that somebody has healed Graves' disease or IBS or chronic acne or, suicidal depression, when you know that somebody has done that, it's possible, something inside of you begins to align with that, if that's your destiny, right? When you have no idea that something is possible, you're living in this small echo chamber of negative reinforcement. So to know what is possible and to know what it takes to ignite that possibility and then trust that you're going to be delivered there is why, I have published cases in the medical literature, why we have, as far as I know, the only program with IRB randomized trial, placebo-controlled trial for depression, demonstrating to you that this is real, because science is fun. It's not always necessary. However, it's been fun. It's like a sport for me to publish these cases and just sort of poke the system a little bit to say, yeah, this is possible. Anything can be integrated, healed, and put into lasting remission. And that's not just the goal, right? Just the absence of your symptoms is not the goal. You want to experience what you came here for, right? You want to experience vitality, freedom. You want to feel comfortable in your own skin. You want to not always have your focus be on the thing that you don't want happening in your life, right? And you want to be liberated to your creativity. And that's what I have seen over and over and over again. Jamie is a living example of that, of what happens when that which you perceive to be your brokenness, your wound, and really the deepest point, perhaps even of your shame, is actually where your gift blooms from. It's always that way. It's designed that way, right? So when it stops being a problem that you're circling the drain of your life, and you start to really resonate with the possibilities that can come through that very specific story, something is born. And I'm very interested in this story. Like every time I'm in a holding pattern in my life, right? Because that's the worst thing we're most afraid of. I think I can generalize. For me, when I get most stuck on the things that I don't want happening is when I imagine they're never going to change, right? Like I'm going to be like pushing the Sisyphusian boulder up the mountain for the rest of eternity, right? For the rest of eternity, I'm going to be single, or for the rest of eternity, I'm going to be in this space. So the rest of eternity, I'm going to be struggling with this. It's never true. However, it becomes not true when you recognize the feeling of really like delight that's possible in your own story. So that's part of what I want to help create for you is your story, right? How can your story evolve to encompass what it is that you are struggling with now? And that can be a sense of stuckness, a sense of being in survival mode, a sense of overwhelm, or it could be something more significant. Doesn't really matter, honestly. Whatever it is that you feel stuck with is like an essential, it's like the plot twist of your entire story. And there's a moment where you're going to look back and you're going to say, wow, I could not have designed it better. And it involves moving through the portal. So I encourage everybody to check out the testimonial reels on the page, on the Vital Mind Reset page, because I think you get into the vibe of what it is that you want, and that calls you forward when you feel emotionally what it's like to be around somebody, even for a few seconds, somebody who is that already. And I know for me, it brings tears to my eyes every time I'm exposed to these many, many, many people who have walked through the portal of their own change making. So the second reason that we tend to stay stuck, circling the drain, is that it's working. That's like the really inconvenient truth, right? That I've found. And I speak a lot to this, like, why is it that we love our struggle, right? The reason that I'm putting this annoying concept into your field is because when you can say, oh, it's working for me, and it's going to not work for me. Could be 10 minutes from now, it stops working for me, but it's working for me now. And the reason that's essential is because your nervous system remains in empowerment. The locus of control is still with you. When the bad thing is happening and the life challenges and the stuckness is persistent, and you feel like you just hate it and you want it to stop, and why isn't it stopping? You're in that disempowerment of like, something is happening to me. I can't do anything about it. I have no choice. That's the anthem, right, of victim consciousness. So when you recognize, okay, my relationship to alcohol, my relationship to this person, my relationship to my boss, my relationship to my body, my experience of, chronic and repetitive symptoms, it's working for me. It's meeting a need, because we meet a lot of needs indirectly until we can meet them directly. Part of your being here listening to this is, to me, demonstrable evidence that it's not working anymore, and that you're ready. You're ready to meet your needs more directly. You're ready to make the claim on your life. And I'll give you an example, right? So like, if I'm in a relationship romantically where I can't ask for a sense of safety and protection and in the specific ways from my partner, I don't know how. I don't know that I'm worth it. Like, I don't know what that even really means. And I don't know that it's possible and what it could look like, right? So I'm in that place where I'm like, this all sucks. I might manifest other ways of struggle and suffering to have that feeling. Like for me, I manifested many, many incidences where with my animals, right? Where I had like an emergency with my animals, like one would run away, like my cat would run away. And in the early days, now he loves me and he wants to hang out with me all the time. But in the early days, he would like disappear, and I would be hysterical in a ball with like snot running down my face in the corner as an unconscious way to feel my partner come to me, take care of me, take care of the situation, protect me from all the bad things related, that is what we do. And we really do this through illness and our symptoms. We use subconsciously our illness and our struggles as a way to say no to social engagements, to relationships, as a way to set boundaries, because we haven't yet learned, and this takes time, and that's cool. The first step is to recognize that you're done with your pattern, right? We haven't yet learned how to say no. We use our illnesses to feel taken care of, right? I know in my family of origin and in many, many families, we commiserate, and that feels like connection. And we especially commiserate around health and our health struggles. And there is another way to feel connected. There are other things to do to have human dynamics feel nurturing and fulfilling other than complaining, right? But we don't know that until we're ready to recognize that something just could feel better, and how, right? So there are many, many steps to the anatomy of meeting your needs, or the architecture rather, to meeting your needs directly. And that's not germane to this conversation, but know that it starts with the ritual of empowerment reclamation. And that's what we've created the space for, is the movement through this practice, this very, very well-worn path, so that you can get to a place where your nervous system actually feels reconnected to your power. Then what comes is choice. And you'll hear me say all day long that choice is the human superpower. When you have lost your sense of choice, when you have lost your relationship to it, when you feel pinned up against a wall, you are in pain, struggle, and suffering by design, I think, because it's time to wake up to the fact that you always have choices. You always have choices, and it takes a calm nervous system, self-possessed, orienting towards, a life driven by your own power, to recognize those choices. And that's what, this portal does. It reconnects you to the power of your choice. And then you get to create, and you get to discern, and you get to no longer be a victim to your life circumstances, and you get to no longer be at war with your body. And the reflex becomes curiosity, right? You start being like, oh, wow, I wonder what that's about, instead of, oh my God, what's happening? And then fear, and then freak out, right? So the last reason is a little more esoteric, and this may, line up with some of your belief systems, may not. The last reason is that what you're struggling with didn't start with you. And there's a book by that title that I highly recommend. And if you've been, in our community, Better Life Project, or you've been listening to any of my recent teachings, I am very, very interested in family constellation and family dynamics, and why it can be that whatever it is that you're struggling with, whether it's a phobia or panic attacks, whether it's money struggles and poverty, whether it is specific romantic dynamics and abuse, whatever it is that's your pain point, it could very well be the case, if you were to interrogate your ancestors and your family line, at least 3 generations back, that this didn't start with you, but that you are here given the opportunity to finish it. And finishing it looks like responding differently to the same fear. Fear of being homeless, fear of being alone forever, fear of being rejected. Whatever that fear is that's really alive for you, you have an opportunity to respond differently and to end the cycle that your family line has handed down to you. Not to just do the same damn thing again, right? And hand it down potentially to your kids. And responding differently, again, in my perspective, requires that pattern disruptor. And it requires that you recognize you can seek fulfillment in another way. Because again, like any addiction, like any habit, it does meet a need. Like I said, it does fulfill something. So if you feel like you might be that person, which I would wager everyone listening is, or you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be attracted to this conversation. If you feel like you might be that person in your family line who is the one here to disrupt, the one here to end the cycle, give yourself the foundation for that. Trust me when I say that work, which you may be signed up for, whether you like it or not. No, we always have free will. That work requires a foundational nervous system. That's why it's so interesting to me that I was a neuroscience major in college, like when I was totally asleep and had no idea what was coming in my future, because it's relevant, right? And I've come to question many things about the biology that I've learned, but your nervous system is actually the container for your emotional experience, and your emotional experience is your human experience, is what you came here for. So if you can't hold certain emotions, if you can't allow, and you need to fight certain emotional states, you can't allow them to alchemize and pass through, then you're going to be stuck in a pattern. It's kind of that simple. So when you give yourself the foundation of a nervous system that has a stronger, more resilient capacity, I call it sending the nervous system a signal of safety. That's when the real magic carpet ride can begin. Because otherwise you just touch some of these little spaces and these fears, and you contract and collapse into your old story, into your old beliefs, and into your old body postures and habits, right? So I've become really interested in what it is that our ancestors are potentially watching us achieve, accomplish, and work with in this moment in time. And again, I do feel like something's on deck for us right now. And so I'm really, really thrilled to see how many people are here, because it affirms to me that there's a readiness. And, you know, if there's anything I am here to do on this plane, it is to remind the change makers, the change agents, that there's nothing wrong with you. Literally nothing wrong with you. Literally nothing wrong with you. You're not doing it wrong. You never did it wrong. You're not messing up your life. You're not too slow. You're not too fast. That's my thing. Nothing wrong with you. You're designed for the exact purpose and expression of your specific signature gift. And every single step along your process is designed perfectly. It's that story. It's the story that you're going to look back on and delight in. You're going to delight in it. And as far as I can tell, it requires, like, for a lot of us, an alarm clock. Like, it requires, I mean, that's why they call it waking up, right? It requires that jolt. For me, it was the diagnosis. You know, it was that Hashimoto's diagnosis back in 2010. That was like, I really don't want this. And so instead of just fighting it, which would have been to take the prescription forever, I'm going to connect to what I do want, which is a life free of prescriptions, free of CVS. Like, it was that simple at the time. It wasn't like, oh, I want to heal my family line and I want to, like, experience pleasure and joy and, like, you know, radiance. It was none of that. It was the simple, not going to fight, going to reach for what I want. And I needed this very, very basic self-care ritual to focus enough of my attention and energy on myself. By the way, that's why we have the pricing structure for VMR that we do, because this cannot be a side hustle. This cannot be a side gig. This is literally your investment in the rest of your life. And it is designed, every aspect of it, to fulfill that purpose. That's why we know that it works, because there's ingredients to it that are necessary. I mean, the amount of money and time that I invested in searching for what it would take to put my Hashimoto's in remission, honestly, it was all worth it. And it was orders of magnitude more, you know, than the investment of this program. However, I do think that investment energy is essential. It's essential, because you got to have skin in the game and you have to focus your attention. And your attention is in these simple, I call it chopping wood, carrying water, in these simple self-care rituals. Like when you go through VMR, it's like 10 minutes, tops 30 minutes a day. However, it's an awareness that you'll bring the material, I mean, and it's audio and written and whatever you need. Actually, we just had the audio re-recorded by a graduate and friend, so I'm super excited about that. The amount of space, though, that this will take up in your consciousness is like 100%. So this is going to be, especially if you're in the live calls, this is going to be a space you are incubating, and it's going to hold you through that transition. Because the hardest aspect of change, I remind myself this every day, is that the change transition feels confusing, disorienting, and it feels like just on the verge of tolerable, because you're like, well, maybe I should go back. It's like I want to crawl back up into the womb, and you don't know what's coming yet. It's uncomfortable. It's meant to be uncomfortable. So that's why we offer the kind of support that we do live, because you can do this self-study whenever you want. We offer this live so that you feel held, so that you don't feel alone, so that you feel that gaze, my gaze, Jamie's gaze, and the gaze of others who have been through this process. And you know that you've got this. Like you so have got this, or you wouldn't be in the position. We never ever get served up something that we can't handle. So when I look at those 3 reasons we get stuck, and I look at what it requires to pattern disrupt, I recognize that what we are offering here is a self-initiation. It's a big deal. And the self-initiation, is required at this point because we don't initiate in our, typically, especially like the hegemony of American culture, we're not initiated in our adolescence when it's probably ideal on a consciousness level, and through like the Jungian individuation lens, that would be a good time for it, right? Most of us don't have a healthy individuation process from our parents. It's more like a battle or like a slow fade to black or something relationally. This is your self-initiation. And I've been, as a psychiatrist, studying the ingredients. I was more Freudian trained, I would say, and then fell in love with Jungian tradition. As a psychiatrist, I know the aspects of what this individuation and self-actualization process. Self-actualization means becoming yourself, becoming yourself. So how do you become yourself? You become yourself when you have these scary moments that you meet with courage, these choices to take risks, and the experience of moving into discomfort and just like taking the leap, right? You take the leap because you feel the pull. I don't want a single person signing up for VMR who is doing it because they think they should do it. Don't do things you think you should do to be the good girl, the good patient, to get healthier. That's not the thing. That's not what we're offering here. This is a calling. And if you feel that it should be a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit exciting, if you feel that pull towards your next chapter because you are done doing it the way you've been doing it, on the small level or the big level, because I have many friends who have done this program and I have watched what it can do for well people who are in even the wellness industry. And so big or small, if you feel that, that's your sign, and it's your opportunity to listen to yourself and to align with yourself and to trust your yes, even if there's a pile of no on top. So with that, I want to hand the mic a bit to Jamie, and then we will start. Who's going to talk a little bit about like the experience. She's been at the helm for some time and comes from in the trenches. And I know that she can shed some light and we'll answer some questions.
Hi, all. I am Jamie Davidson. I know the chat's not working, and we're going to work on that. If you have any questions when we open Q&A, you're welcome to put them in the Q&A box, the chat box there. It's so interesting. I do come from the trenches, and it's curious being next to Kelly right now in like the white coat with flair. It's almost like doctory, right? And and I want you to consider that as we discuss, because I was patient. Like I come from the psych ward kind of experience, and Kelly from a different place. And here we are walking together, and what we discover that it's the same walk, right? It's the same path for all of us. And we get free of these beliefs about ourselves in these lanes that actually don't serve us, no matter which one you're in, the victim or the hero, So just really want to honor all of you for showing up today. I know that there's many different interests here. It can be just to optimize your health and wellness, and that there's a curiosity on what we're exploring. And then there's some of you that might be feeling a bit like, I've done everything, like even this hour is ridiculous to spend, like, what am I, I'm wasting my own time resources and potentially money resources and all of that. That's where I came from. And I know that when you're in that space, it can take a lot to show up, right? And there can be a lot of shame and just a lot of stuff you're carrying. And I honor you for listening to that spark and that longing and that possibility. That's all we have, right? That light is all we have, and there's nowhere to go but toward that. So as you listen to this conversation, really feel if that's alive for you, because that's how you know this is for you. And when Kelly was talking about, there's nothing wrong with you, right? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. See what comes up for you, just for a second, like, see if you have and accept that that's not included, right? What do you believe her? And if not, what's the thing? Because many people come here to get off meds for their thyroid, for this, that, and the other, but that is the thing that heals that you won't expect to heal, that story. And that's actually the most powerful part of all of this, because that's why the thyroid, that's why the meds, you know what I mean? And if you don't understand, just see if you can feel, because I sometimes when I speak, it's more of a transmission than a direct pointed. It's harder to, it's easier to understand me if you just allow yourself to feel what I'm saying. So so you know a little bit about how I got in the seats. I had a bit of a crack at the age of 18, where a lot of light came in and a lot of dark, and I ended up deep in the mental health system. And I aligned with it, right? That there was something wrong with me. There'd be something wrong with me forever. It was this, that, and the other thing. There was no meaning aligned with that. I was going to be on meds for the rest of my life. And I was highly, highly medicated. I don't remember much. I was hospitalized. Many of you know the story, whether it's a physical symptom or mental health. And I finally ended up getting off medication because I just realized I'm miserable either way. So why go to CVS and do that whole dance and then taking the medicine and feel very good, and it wasn't getting me anywhere that I wanted to be. So a friend of mine kept knocking on my door with a book, Kelly's book, A Mind of Your Own. And I was like, I can't do that, right? Because I was self-medicating in such a huge way, right? Because it's like something opens in us. We don't connect meaning to that experience. We relate to it like there's something wrong with us. And then if we're relating to ourselves like we're broken and there's something wrong with us, we just want to escape the experience of life. Like there's nowhere to go. You're not creating anything beautiful from that core place, right? So your outside world isn't what you want it to be. And so you start to numb, or at least that's the path that I took. So eventually I signed up for the program and I remember sitting there thinking like, Jamie, like, wait, you're just going to get the same results again, right? Because I could get off meds, I could fix my diet, I could do all these things. But if I still believed that there was something wrong with me, I'm going to keep creating that everywhere I go. Like there's no, the person who believes they're broken doesn't listen to their inner voice, right? The person that believes, there's something wrong, I must fix it, is also, why don't I like family gatherings? Or why can't I just go with the flow with the school? Or why can't I just yada, 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 right? It's like the difference of when you get on your own team, you start to relate to life from a place of, I like this, I don't like this, I want to experience this in my life, right? It's a whole different, it's the flip. And I think that when I signed up for the program, right, I reset my body, and that was incredible. And so not only did I have that, but I also related to myself as somebody who potentially had something to say, or potentially had true feelings that could be listened to, or, you know, like the inner experience wasn't a bad one. The inner experience wasn't a broken one. And that I started to just change my posture so that I was like, you don't like family gatherings. Why might that be? or you don't like being a stay-at-home mom. My children are 1 and 2 at that time. And like, maybe that's not for you. You know what I mean? And so from that place comes creation. And so what I want to communicate is that VMR on the greatest level for me is about getting on your own team. We learn that we're broken. We learn there's something wrong with us, and we turn on ourselves. And from that, nothing beautiful can be created. And you're going to see an outer world that you don't like, that's problematic. You're going to have physical symptoms, mental health symptoms. There's no other way. So once we get on our own team, we can create something else. And what we do in VMR is we reset the nervous system, our bodies. We feed our bodies food that we're designed to eat. We support our bodies in detox from years and years and years of like overloaded toxicity. We meditate so that our nervous system, so we can feel okay. We can remember our own okayness every day, right? So we walk out of VMR, and not only like with a foundation, we have a platform to hear, and something happens in those 44 days. And this is the magic that you won't know, but you could maybe feel here. Something happens where you start to turn toward yourself and honor yourself and your own experience, and you get on your own team. So when you have a foundation, you're not like waking up in the morning, like drinking coffee and having a donut, right? So you have a foundation, you hear your voice, you create your life. That's what this is. And that's why this is the protocol to end all protocols, because we're not coming at you like you have a problem and this is the particular fix. The problem is for you, to show you that when you get on your own team, in terms of the way you treat yourself and relate to yourself, it's actually, it's showing you that you're not on your own team. It's showing you that you're not facing yourself and loving yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. And then it's not a problem. And then it heals on its own, right? It's not like, what's the right supplement for this right thing? And then we just have to dodge another problem and get another supplement. It's not like that. This is where you fully shift your self-relating, and your experience of life changes with it. And that's, what I always say in the circles is that you do not know who you're going to be on day 44. So do not make up any stories about that, because you can't know. You will change in ways you can't know. And it's not like, it's not just like, I won't feel this discomfort in my arm. It's like a whole different you relating to your body in a way that's for you. That's for you, because you are the only one that can be on your own team, and you are the only one that can listen to your own whisper, and you're the only one that can create the life you want. So if you don't have it, it's because you're not creating it, right? Like, you're the only one who knows what it is. And if you're giving your power away to somebody who tells you that you have a problem and they know, it's never right. Your essential posture is of your own brokenness, and that never comes around for you in a good way. So this is why I am passionate about this program, because I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew that I wasn't happy, and I knew that I wanted something that nobody else was pointing at for me, that nobody else could show me was possible. I remember listening to a podcast that Kelly was speaking about lighting a candle. And I thought, I think that was one of the shifts for me. It was like, she's a psychiatrist and she's talking about lighting a candle. And what the candle felt like to me was to be calm enough in my own joy to enjoy lighting a candle. Like that didn't exist. I was running from myself, from my self-hatred. And, you know, I now live in Costa Rica, and I've taken huge leaps where I had to listen to my voice and believe in myself and believe in my light to take those risks and to experience, I don't know, like a journey that's, you know, I used to think I couldn't work. I lived like this, you know, and I experience magic every day, and it's growing. And that's what this did for me. You know, and if my nervous system can handle sitting here, webinar style, I really like seeing faces. You know, I'm an introvert. Like that says something, right? It's incredible. And I do it because I know the insides of this program, and I've walked with so many people, and I've watched them come in wanting to fix something, and one moment discover, oh my God, I hold all the power for my whole life. And nobody, not even Kelly, can tell me what to do. I know the way. And that moment is everything. It's everything. And then we get to experience your light coming through and see what you came here for, you know, and dance in that art together. So yeah, it is an honor to be here. I look forward to walking with you in circle, and yeah, let's see what questions are up. Okay, I think actually okay. Kelly, are you ready to go into questions?
Yeah, I'm like crying. It just gets me every time. Like it's so, I get so excited. I'm so excited, you know, about what is possible for all of us, because it's possible. And I think that's why, you know, I saw a question, maybe it's coming, but about Lyme disease, and the difference between this program, this field, Jamie and I and Leela and our whole team and Scott, like our team, we live this way. We walk this walk. And part of this is there's no mistakes. There's no problems. Like your symptoms are never, ever, ever a problem. So when you are doing pretty much, I love my colleagues, but I don't have a lot of colleagues who believe as fiercely as I do. And I thank my mentor, Nick, for anointing me in this way, because he believed this too. You can heal anything. You can transform anything. And that's why if you feel like you've done all the things, like this is where you belong, because there isn't another field like this. And that's why I literally cry at my desk watching the testimonial videos that come out of this program, knowing it honestly has very little to do with anything specific that I've put in there, other than the 2 weeks in the beginning of the program. It's 44 days by design. And there's 2 weeks in the beginning where I brainwash you nicely. And I offer your mind a different way of seeing things, a reframe. And remember, if you know this about me, I did not come to this because I decided to just like believe in miracles. Okay, I was not a spiritual person. I was very much in the scientism worldview. I came to this through scientific papers, literally studying psychoneuroimmunology, understanding what does it take to send the nervous system and associated systems this signal of safety. And then, like Jamie said, it's like people came to my practice, or they came to this program, or they came to the book, and they thought they had a specific problem, a diagnosis. And then they do the thing, they commit, and they choose to do the thing. Even literally clicking the button that you click to be here is already, there's alchemy at play. You choose, and then there's all of these. We have an amazing, hilarious testimonial by this woman named Kelly. I'm thinking of her when I'm saying this. There's all of these side benefits other than the resolution of your so-called problem. right? So it's exciting to me, because to me, the scariest thing in life is inertia. The scariest thing is being stuck. And the scariest thing is imagining that I'm going to die in this life without tasting the vitality, the pleasure, and the experience of play that I know I came here for. That scares the hell out of me. So to know that it's always possible, and to know we're all in this, believing this, means it is possible. And that's why, we've proven it. So yes, I'm totally down for questions. So let me know. I know we can.
Okay, I am trying to move this up. Savannah said, I feel called to change. And yet when I start to take the steps, I sabotage myself and revert back. I struggle with consistency, or rather truly, I struggle with consistency and committing to take action. So I'm fearful to take the next steps because I self-talk that I won't follow through.
I always have something to say. Okay, so I don't like the phrase self-sabotage, because all of you is here for you. If you've heard me talk about parts work, I'm a huge fan of parts work, because it helps you to remember all of the parts of you, all of your behaviors, all of them are here for you. This is like what I teach my daughter when she does something that she feels like ashamed of, that you always do things for a good reason. All the things, stealing, lying, cheating, you do all the things for a very, very good reason. Okay, so if that's true, but just come with me for a minute. If that's true, and there's no such thing as you sabotaging yourself, then how do you begin to create the conditions for that part of you that wants to keep you small to feel like she can exhale a little bit? He, whatever. This is what we do, right? Because you're not alone. Everybody does this. Everybody feels this way. We want to stay in the familiar, like the devil we know, right? So when you create the conditions for you to recognize that all you got to do is literally like open an email every day and read a little bit, and then assuming you're, participating in the live portion, show up on the calls. That's all you have to do. So you don't have to like do cartwheels and have deep exploration of yourself. We're not doing that now. Okay. So the creation of the conditions, I think, is what can allow that protector part to just chill a little bit, because you're being held. You can do this protocol by yourself, and people have done this just from the book. You totally can do that. You don't sound like that kind of person. I am not that kind of person. So you create the conditions where the safety comes from the container. The safety comes from, I'm not doing this on my own. So if I mess it up, it's only information. It's only like, oh, okay, maybe I need to try it again in 2 months or whatever. Honestly, I don't hear that feedback that people engage with the program that way, like that they do it later. This is meant to be done just once, just now. Just now. That's why you're here. And I watched a testimonial the other day, and it was somebody who said, that she's done Whole30 and she could never like stick to it. It would just like never really like work. And I think it's because there's the missing ingredient of shifting out of fear into curiosity, shifting out of fighting with yourself and your symptoms, shifting out of needing your body to behave, needing the things to go away. And that's, of course, what we provide. So I do think there's more to it than just the behavior. And it's also just the simple tasks that we ask you to do. Jamie, go ahead.
Yeah, I am. I also want to add to that. I fall into that category 100%, or I did in the past, and I know many, many do. And I think that there's something about the field of this process that, see if you can feel into this. If this is a yes for you, is this a yes for me? Is this what I want for my life? And can I choose it? Am I willing to say for 44 days, I'm going to chop wood, carry water. I'm going to make that not true anymore, at least for this, and do it, because in the circles, I will remind you to do this 100%. And that doesn't mean it's not A+ student. that's not the vibe. It's more like chop wood, carry water, do what you're committed to doing, and then have that as your knowing, because there's something also really powerful about that. And so you can say, I have a story, I have evidence for my story. Do I want to choose something else for 44 days? You know, and make the call. And then when you hear the other story, it's like, nope, 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 not doing. And then you'll start to get your power. Every time you say no to that, you get a little more power, right? And that's how we actually move out of the victim consciousness. Is we create a new story for ourselves, and we just say no to one that does not serve us anymore. And that's one of them, right? You get to choose what you do. You get to choose what you want, and you get to commit to it in the way that you want for a container like this, right? And then you're curious around all the other things. But this is one where I see over and over and over again, people who say they can't do this, do it, because the energy is there, because everybody knows that this is a beautiful thing, that this is for them, and it's in a very pure way. Okay. Another question is, does this help you get off meds?
Okay, I'll start quick because I saw a really important question. I just happened to see it, and it dovetails with this, and so I'm just going to address both. The question that I happen to see is a cat, and it's about whether or not this program is for somebody who's like super sick and has a disease diagnosis, or whether it's for like a well person. And also, like, what's the deal with meds, right? So I'll just like quick tour you through who this is for. So of course, initially this was, well, not of course, maybe you don't know. This is what I did to resolve my diagnosis. I had a diagnosis. This is what I did. It worked. It's been a million years and I'm still going. Okay. Like, no, it's done. That was like done literally within probably, I would say 6 to 12 months, that I walked away from the medical system because of these lifestyle changes. So yes, per diagnosis. Then I took this same protocol to my practice, and I said, okay, it is a nightmare. Literally, I was running like an outpatient rehab. When you try to come off of these meds, just tapering, live in your normal life. So what if we put this sending of the nervous system safety signal thing in front? And I created like a set of agreements with my patients where this was like a go big or go home. So they do this protocol to the T, and they don't touch 1 milligram of their medications until it's over. Now, this is like religious dogma for me. Like, now this is what it's the only way I can see to do it. Of course, because I had a decade of helping, people come off these meds, and I see that this works. And the other ways, of course, there are many ways, but the other ways that I did it didn't work. And they would just come back around. So the curious thing for me is that initially we would see, oh, they're here to come off of meds, and then like their inflammatory bowel disease is also in remission, or the acne they've had, cystic acne they've had forever, or their premenstrual dysphoria is over, or asthma. What do I know about asthma? I'm a psychiatrist. Okay. So I would see, and they're no longer using albuterol or whatever. And I would see over and over and over again, these unintended benefits and resolution of other so-called diagnoses, symptoms, and associated medications. So that's when I saw, okay, this is a template. This is a template for self-reclamation. And then you get in touch with what's the next step for you to continue to get to know yourself, continue to come into a state of peace with your body. But what was really curious to me is when my friends started to do this protocol, like became curious, or impressed with the outcomes. And they said, okay, well, they're already eating healthy. They're already doing yoga. They're already like living the life. Why would they do this? Well, because I started to talk about the steps of change, right? And the anatomy of individuation and self-actualization, and that it requires a reset. It literally requires like a disruptor, I mentioned. So that can be many things. I mean, you can go on a, $20,000 wellness retreat. I'm sure that could do the thing, right? You could do, all sorts of different ceremonies. Personally, I don't recommend people move into the realms of plant medicine or other ritualized ceremonial initiatory processes before you have these basics of self-care under your belt and you're like fiercely committed to your self-care. That's my personal opinion. But what I noted was that when my friends who are already well would take a month and go really, really deep into ritualized commitment, I still do this now, right? I do ritualized commitment to myself where I hack my lifestyle. It's very powerful and it connects you to your power of choice. I just did a water fast. It was the same thing. It's just my version of VMR 15 years later, right? So however you can access that reset for your entire life and your associated struggles unfolds differently. So I am a huge believer. And in fact, that's really been my recent passion, is like offering this to people who are otherwise well, but feel stuck, feel stuck in patterns in their life, spiritually, psychologically, and emotionally, because I don't see a lot of people in the spiritual communities and wellness communities who get this level of relating to your body through the lens of cooperation and harmony, right? It's always like, yeah, your body's cool, it's wonderful while it's healthy. But then when you have a health issue or a symptom, like they're like, yeah, run to the doctor, like run to the hospital, or like, yeah, of course I have to take meds for my UTI or whatever. This is how you transform that consciousness of there being any rumbling warfare in your life. It begins with aligning with yourself. Then the warfare can manifest in many different ways. It doesn't have to be a diagnosis. So I would just want to make that clear.
Okay, next question. I think the diet part is what's tripping me up. I'm carrying so much in this area from family and past food eating thoughts and patterns. Food is also where I go for comfort. Can you speak more about this part of the program?
Jamie, do you want to share about your sugar relationship? Because I can certainly speak to this. I will after.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of us use food as a way to cope. And I also am noticing people coming in. It's interesting over the last few years, there's more food like restrictions, and there's like more food allergies and more yes, that, no, that, and also, the addictive patterns that are there for many. And what I love about the program is that it's essentially, we're not saying anything's right or wrong for you. We're just saying, try this out for 30 days. The diet starts on day 16, and we can talk about that some more. But so the diet isn't the whole 44 days, it's 30 days. And all we're saying is eat what your body was designed to eat and see how you feel. And so I think that I would consider just saying, okay, I have these stories, these concerns, and I'm just going to put them on the shelf for 4 weeks and see what I feel like, right? See what it's like to eat natural food, and let your body experience that. It's so interesting in circle. A lot of people say, I think, that these things come up, right? A lot of things come up. And I think it's making me more anxious. And it's like, okay, if vegetables and, a little piece of steak or something like that, and some, sweet potatoes are making you more anxious and you need a pizza, like it's like bringing that into the room to start to really get curious around what's going on and what these energies and concerns and fears are about, because likely it's not about the food, right? And so the detox isn't just physical, it's a lot of different energies that move in this process. So see if you are open to eating natural food for that short period of time. And if you are, just say, I'm going to do that, everything else to the side, and see what happens. Keep it simple, like let it be simple for yourself, because those Cheetos aren't for you, right? So let's see what it's like to have 44 days that are for you. That's what I would say to that.
So my daughter's, we had like a little birthday party the other day, and my daughter brought her girlfriend over, and she's having like skin stuff going on, beautiful, like little girl, and she's having like skin stuff going on. And she said, I don't know what's going on, I'm so inflamed. This little girl. And she said, well, I'm not supposed to eat all these foods. And it was like pineapple and like seeds and this, it was like this typical random list of like allergies that people develop when they, often end up in the integrative or sometimes even functional medicine world. And they got the list, right, of the things you're supposed to avoid that are like your random allergies. And I told her, for a decade in my practice, I worked with people who had eating disorders, who had all sorts of restrictions coming in. Sometimes they were eating like 2 foods. And you don't have to do it that way. Don't have to do it that way. I literally applied one diet to 100% of my patients. And that is why I have allegiance to this diet. And then I worked with Nick Gonzalez, who helped me to see, oh, that's why this diet out of many, many different types works for people who have the kinds of sensitivities and struggles that most of us coming to, whether it's autoimmunity or allergies or thyroid stuff, or whether it's just that you are, so-called empath or on that end of the spectrum that he would call parasympathetic dominance. So that's a whole other conversation. And at the end of VMR, I introduce you to, his work on that level, so you can try to determine what it is that you are. However, the template is the template for a reason. Because when I'm just going to keep saying this phrase, send your nervous system a signal of safety, your nervous system chills out. And then you don't have all of these restrictions. They literally are not relevant, they don't exist, and they're not necessary. That's my opinion. I never took eggs out of anybody's diet. I never took nuts out of anybody's diet. How could that be when we have outcomes in pretty much all the categories of autoimmunity, right? I believe that it has to do with the combination of lifestyle factors that we offer. So it's not just diet, and specifically getting into our energy of what it is that we believe. How else can I explain it? Right? Like, because it has to be that. It's not just the diet. It can't just be the diet, right? So I also developed a vegetarian version of this diet that is otherwise an ancestral diet. So you have a choice of what to work with. However, the data that I have is, and I recently wrote a blog post on what's the healthiest diet and put a video from VMR in there. The data that I have is with this specific diet in combination with the other lifestyle practices, detox and specific medical meditations. And then it's in the context of being in my energy field and Jamie's energy field. That is the secret sauce. It's an ingredient that you can't find elsewhere, and it's not for everyone. Trust me, I ain't for everyone. So it's for those of you who are turned on by the idea of not getting something out of fighting with your health. That sounds like, who the hell wouldn't be turned on by that? No, a lot of people are not ready for that. They need a health problem. They need a struggle, right? So for me, it's like always in the relationship realm. It hasn't been in the health realm for a long time. Now I'm done with that. Like, I'm done with the controversy, right? So when you're done with the controversy in one particular arena of your life, you want to pattern disrupt in this way. Okay, next question.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions that are, oh wait, where did that one go? Similar to, I was diagnosed with leaky gut, ADHD, insomnia, Lyme, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, IBS. Will this help? So fill in the blank on whatever the diagnosis is.
Yeah, and I'm also just reading the question. That's what I'm trying to convey is, this isn't about your diagnosis, because your diagnosis is a lie to begin with, right? And that's not to say that you're not struggling, right? That's not to say that you don't have actual pain in your joints, your hair isn't falling out, you're not bloated and pooping once a month. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the attachment to your diagnosis being the problem, and especially in psychiatry, I mean, I'm not going to give a lecture on psychiatry and the myths associated with it at this moment. However, there is the diagnoses associated with so-called psychiatric symptoms are descriptive terminology. Okay, so your diagnosis isn't the thing. The thing is that you're stuck in a negative reinforcement pattern, and you need a pattern disruptor to liberate you, again, maybe even from your family line. That's why I brought that up in the beginning, because this is big stuff. This is huge stuff. This isn't just about like not having your symptoms. So you need a disruptor in order to liberate you to a different way of being, to no longer re-encountering your same story. If you look at your life and I said, give me one sentence about the most painful, horrible thing about your life, even if you're a well person, you would be able to come up with that sentence. Nobody's ever there for me. It's always worse for me. It never works out for me. You know, I'm always left out. Like whatever it is, you have your narrative pain point that is grounding your victim consciousness and attracting these patterns of struggle. And you can change that. You can totally rewrite that story. So it doesn't have to do with your diagnosis is just like, it's just you're like the book cover. This is the book cover on your story, and your story is your own adventure. It's not about your diagnosis. It's about how you're going to alchemize that, how you're going to turn that into your gift, how you're going to turn that, because that is literally what it's here for. It's not here for you to just cure it or heal it. That's boring. Like, that's not the thing. What I want to see is like, you know, the Jamies and the Ali Zaks and the people who, and that's everyone that we've seen ever share their outcomes. It's who are Phoenix rising from the ash. Like it's not just burning it down, right? What's going to rise from there? And so that's why I've become really passionate about how this is, it's a ritual, and it's the one I can stand behind. Obviously, it's the one that worked for me. So yeah, hopefully that clarifies that.
I also want to speak to that a little bit, because even after this, many might say, well, what about this diagnosis, right? And so really feel into this possibility, because we are trained into I'm uncomfortable. Someone tells me what it is, and now we carry that along, right? And so your diagnosis, I'm guessing, came from a place where you gave your power away, and then you got a wrong with me label, and now you want to know if this will fix that. No, nothing will. You ditch the label. Like, you can't fix it from that place because it's unfixable. You'll have a new thing. Like it doesn't work like that. You know, I saw my mom a little bit ago, and she was busy, and she said, well, I have ADHD. And I was like, Mom, you have ADHD? What is that? Your energy is running a certain way, and let's get curious around that. And that is a beautiful way to live. She has power there, right? She can say like, well, I don't like doing things the way other people do things, or I don't like environments that are busy. Like, that's all it is. It's not a label. Where did she even get that? You know, and then following the path of where that led her, right? You know, where all of ours have led us. And, you know, I personally do not go to the doctor anymore because I don't want that luggage. I don't want that story. So this isn't about the story, fixing the story. This is about dropping the story and creating something else. And then you have something move through you, you know, in the future, and it's uncomfortable, and you explore it and you dance with it and move with it, and it awakens you to something different. This is about a different way of living. And it's so much bigger than fixing this problem that we call a diagnosis. We just exit that. We completely exit that model. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. And I, you know, even I was walking with a friend, and she's a naturopath, and she gave my son, like, who had this hair thing, a diagnosis. And I was like, cancel. That's not true. That's not true. And his hair grew back fine. It wasn't a thing. And I will not carry that in my life. And you don't have to either. And VMR allows you to discover that. You have that much power. You don't need people telling you. You don't need to ask people what problems you have. You don't have problems. You have magic and discovery and what you came here for. So yeah, and I get it. And you know what, the other thing that VMR does is the questions of that energy is an unsafe nervous system that wants to be okay and wants a container, and we get it. Yes. And it'll go from this to, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay, you know? So another question was, and you could probably answer this quickly, if someone's already tapering. So this isn't, there's a lot of questions specific to medications and tapering, but this is one path for some people. This isn't the whole program, but I do want to answer for those that are currently tapering if they can begin.
Yes, so I have a good amount of experience with this because I would work with patients who had failed tapers and who would come find their way to my office as like a last stop, a last resort. And it's the same messaging. You pause everything else. You pause everything else. So, that includes literally all medications. And I'm somebody who wants things done yesterday. So for me, it was like, well, but let's just take the birth control away, or like, come on, let's just drop the statin, or let's just drop. And I learned through my experience that you just leave everything but the conditions we are asking you to change. Very specifically, the instructions are very specific. Those are the ones you change, and you leave everything else alone. You don't leave your husband, you don't leave your job, you don't stop your meds, you don't continue your taper. You keep everything else, you just pause everything else except the things that we're asking you to radically change. Those things are going to change.
Okay, do we want to start to wind down or take more questions? Kelly, what do you think?
Let's take one more question, and then we'll just share some of the logistical details.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
I'm going to put two different questions that are kind of similar, but I think I'd like to hear your answer to both. One is, does VMR address victim consciousness? And the other is, can VMR help calm the nervous system even while dealing with a lot of trauma?
Okay. Yes is the answer. Because, again, as somebody who's very interested in psychology, in trauma patterns, and in the power of thoughts and belief, I have come to this place where I have seen, again, like spiritual people get super shadowy and really not so spiritual when they don't have this physiologic foundation, when they don't have their nervous system on lock. And there are other paths. I mean, you could, go into a cave and meditate. You could practice like martial arts. I mean, there's other paths to healing your nervous system. I just haven't seen one that can work so quickly. And not like you're going to be healed on the other end, obviously, but that you set this foundation so that your nervous system allows you to do the trauma work to resolve your victim consciousness, or at least become aware of it, right? Because to do those things, you have to be able to hold emotional states of things like shame, of things like feeling bad and wrong. I call it the villain crown. You have to be able to wear that. You can't wear that when you're like living in a brittle state in your life, like where things are just kind of like, you're just kind of like hanging on. And you also can't wear that crown when you're in avoidant mode, right? When your life is predicated on avoiding the bad things. That's why you're staying stuck in the relationship. That's why you're staying stuck at the job. That's why you're staying in this kind of lifestyle where you just feel like you're living behind a glass wall. That is, underpinning that is your victim story. The way to rattle that, the way to disrupt that, is to first set a physical foundation, a real life. What are you eating, drinking, doing? What time are you going to bed? Like these basics, I call it chopping wood, carrying water. Set this in place, and then you will be able to move into the discomfort of those changes with so much more grace and ease. So yeah, I mean, you probably know, or you wouldn't be asking the question, that I think victim consciousness is the only human pathology. It's the only disease. It is the only state of disconnection from, whatever you want to call it, divine source, God, cosmos. That is what victim consciousness is. That's why it hurts. That's why it's painful. And that pain is the reminder that there's a better way. There's another way. And choice is the methodology to access that. So this is practicing your choice. And you do it through, these lifestyle rituals. So hopefully that helps clear things up. Let's see. We'll probably email this out since we had some glitchy stuff in the beginning, but I want to make sure people have the, I always feel like when I say coupon code, I was joking this morning, like I feel like I'm shopping at like TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something, but that's what it's called. It is a coupon code, which is 2022 Fall 100. Yeah, there we go. And that, you know, we have a Telegram chat where if your question was not answered, you can chat us on Telegram. Of course, you can email. You can reply to the emails that we're sending out. And we start on Tuesday. We start on Tuesday, and you don't gotta get the diet stuff ready. It's not like that. Like Jamie said, we start with 2 weeks of me gently reprogramming your belief system. And then you'll dive in. And I obviously really encourage you to participate in the live calls with Jamie. I'm doing in my offering, I'm doing 3 live calls to transmit to you whatever I can and to answer your specific questions and meet your inquiry at whatever level I do. At the beginning, the end, and then a month after. That's what we're calling the top tier offering. And we're also offering the first 5 people who enter that field coaching support one-on-one with Jamie. And you'll also get 3 months of aftercare in Vital Life Project, which is living this life, right? So if there's anyone here from there, you know that this is where we help stabilize you in living this lifestyle. It's essential to be around people who already believe this to stabilize. I think it's essential. Otherwise, we just collapse and constrict and go back to our old thing. And this is part of how we really ease you into and onto your magic carpet ride. So I really, really, really hope to see you all at the opening ceremonies and in the live calls, and that you'll really trust that teeny yes that says, no, it's time. It's time for something that feels way better and way more exciting and way more adventurous in my life. So I am going to leave the chat up for a second so we can make sure that, yeah, the Telegram, if you scroll up, you'll see the Telegram link. You'll see the link and then the coupon code. All right. Anything else, Jamie?
Yeah, I just want to add that if you feel unclear around what this is or nervous, first of all, there's tons of information on the website. And this is, as Kelly said, chop wood, carry water. And we hold your hand through this every day. You will get an email and you'll know exactly what to do every day. And all you have to do is do that. Literally, you just put one foot in front of the other, because we know that many of you are coming with busy lives, or you know that this can be really challenging and a really big ask of yourself. And so we make it simple. And so you don't have to worry about your particular situation. You don't just say, am I a yes? And know that we have done this so many times that we are going to put it in front of you in a way that you understand and the way that you can say yes to and do every day. And you don't have to do more. You just do it one foot in front of the other and then see what happens. And in 44 days, you'll know. It's really that simple. And it just requires a yes and then a trust. Which can be big for many of us, right? Because we want to make sure it's okay because it doesn't feel okay. You don't have to do anything else. And if you have questions, reach out. We're here for you, and really, really look forward to walking this path with you. You can feel it here, like how transformational it is and how beautiful it is and how much we want this for all. That's why we do this. So yeah.
All right. Ciao, everyone. Thank you for being here. See you soon.